time to speak here with us. So Morningstar is her given name. She is award-winning author, woman self-empowerment coach, podcast host, educator, TEDx speaker, former radio host, devoted to advocate for women's self-empowerment. She's also the creator of Amazing Facial Serum 18. Since her book, how do you say that first? Venerable. Okay, thank you for that. Venerable Women, Transform Ourselves, Transform the World. So her book is here, and she'll be out in the garden room and can answer any questions about that afterwards. After coaching women for 35 years, Dawn founded Venerable Women in 2013, and then co-founded the New World Women with Mega Page and Sean, who is here, in 2020. All these things that Carol doesn't pronounce well, you know, I just don't like to slaughter them. So anyways, New World Women and Sisterhood of Seekers and Sages expands women's consciousness and increases their prosperity using unique model paying women to practice self-care, learn new things, stay inspired, help others. At this point, there is no other model like New Woman's World in the world. So with all of that, help me welcome Dawn.
That is supposed to be pink and blue, like really vibrant. So just imagine that in your mind's eye, okay? Why traditionally did girls wear pink and boys wear blue? Have you ever wondered about that? What would it be like to go to India and study with enlightened monks and stay quiet for 21 days? What are masculine and feminine energies, and how do they show up in our lives? What would our lives and the world be like if feminine and masculine energies were in union, in harmony with one another? What role does balancing these energies play in creating a new world of love, respect, hope, and kindness? Since the theme is curiosity here in this community for the month, I decided to take a look at some things that I was curious about, and hopefully you will find them interesting too. So originally, when babies were tiny babies, they would be wearing white. That seems unusual, doesn't it? But the reason that they wore white is because of the stains that would get on their clothes. They could bleach them and get them as clean as possible. So it wasn't until 1940s post-war America, when the economic boom came about and people had lots more money to spend, that retailers decided that they were going to have pink clothing for girls and blue clothing for boys. And so femininity in the color pink showed up in fashions, showed up on shampoo bottles, lipstick cases, everything you can think of was pink. And that was because they were trying to get women in the United States who had participated in the war effort and were working outside the home and doing some pretty bold things. They needed for them to return to this place of femininity, to return to home and hearth. So isn't that an interesting thing? And so lead researcher, I'm going to read this because it's kind of a long quote. Lead researcher Anya Hurlbert said that she believes the research concludes that a preference for pink among females is innate and that it could be linked to women's primary function as gatherers in the hunter-gatherer period of human development. Successful gatherers would have benefited from an ability to recognize ripeness in fruits, which is often signified by the color pink. So that was kind of interesting. In turn, these same women may have passed that down to their daughters. So blue in boys symbolizes protection. And when we talk a little bit about the masculine and feminine energies, we'll come back to that idea of protection. And in ancient Greece and Egypt, blue was used to protect a person or place from evil spirits. Pharaohs were often dressed in blue. So that's a little bit, again, imagining on my slide that I sent over, it really was a very vibrant pink and blue, but I think you get the picture. So the second thing I was curious about was what would it be like to go to India and study with enlightened monks? And it was a really fascinating experience. This was in 2015. And I lived in a dormitory with 17 other women, shared a bathroom. I think there were 7 of us to a bathroom, and ate Indian food for lunch and breakfast and dinner every single day for the 21 days. The most profound thing about that time was that I spent the time in total silence. I did not speak. And for anyone who knows me, that was a really challenging thing. My best friend was there, and we decided that during meal times we would sit on opposite ends of the cafeteria because we thought we would naturally just start talking. So that practice was called Mauna, M-A-U-N-A. And the practice is was developed so that when we're learning really important techniques or new skills or going deep within, that we don't process it with other people. We keep it within. And that was a very helpful experience for me because I really was able to take in those teachings. And the monks were both male and female, and they were some of the most bright lights I have ever experienced. Their eyes were clear, their thoughts were very concise, their love was so apparent. You could just feel it standing, even in the room with them, you could feel it. And 2 really big lessons that I learned that tie back into what we're talking about today. One is that avoidance of our suffering is our suffering. So take that in for a moment. We will do anything to avoid the pain that we are feeling inside of us, won't we? But when we get to that place where we are able to take a good hard look at ourselves and to see who we really are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and to use our awareness to be aware of those things and to be loving and forgiving to ourselves, that's when the real magic happens. That's when we become authentic. That's when we become living expressions of the divine. And the second thing that I learned that it really was something that I thought, well, gosh, yeah, everybody does this. The second thing was to be aware. To be aware. And again, it goes back to that idea that we can be so profoundly influenced by outer forces that we're not really aware of what's right in front of us. We're not aware of looking into the eyes of another person. We're not aware of what they're saying to us. We're thinking maybe about what we want to say to respond. And so this idea of awareness, if you don't remember anything else from today, remember that awareness of your awareness is your salvation. It is your peace and tranquility. So what are these masculine and feminine energies, and how do they show up? Oh, that's right, Gary told me to point it this way and not that way, which was my natural instinct. Okay, so before we get to what they are, I really loved this quote. This is from a woman named Lisa Zimmerman, and that's lisazimmerman.com. She says that the awakened feminine has a strong inner masculine who protects her, honors her abilities, and provides her with ample opportunities to express her sensual, intuitive, and creative nature. The awakened masculine has a strong inner feminine who encourages him, respects his leadership, and gives him the freedom to become an autonomous being who has independent thoughts and makes his own choices. So I thought that was a really nice way to think of this. So before I show you what some of these, and these are just some of the energies of masculine and feminine. Before I show them to you, I want to make sure that we all understand that we each have masculine and feminine in us. It happens, though, that those who identify as female tend to have more of the feminine energies in them. And the reverse is true, or the opposite is true. Those who identify primarily as male tend to have more masculine energies in them. Both are important, and especially a healthy version of both. Okay, so feminine energy. So as you can see, emotions and feelings, right? We all know that with the feminine energy. Intuitive awareness. So really tapping into that intuitive part of ourselves and trusting it. Flowing, cyclical, and spiral. Think of that, just that very flowy energy and spiraling. Allowing and accepting. Allowing what is to be and accepting it. And I always say that acceptance doesn't mean that you have to like or agree with something. But in order to have peace and tranquility, it's really important that we accept what is happening and not be in denial about it. Trusting natural outcomes. So one natural outcome I can think of is season change. You know, right now, some of us, when we see the leaves falling and we love the beauty and the cooler temperatures and all of that, some of us might be thinking, uh-oh, I know what comes next, right? Right? So allowing ourselves to just trust the natural flow of things and the natural outcomes. Being and inner stillness are also energies of the feminine. So if we were to, just think of masculine energies and feminine energies, masculine is about doing and feminine is about being. Relationship and connection, that's really big in the realm of the divine feminine or feminine energies. Listening with heart, spirit, and inner voice. Like really listening. How good are we at that? How good are we at that? And how can we be better? Just by being aware that when we listen to someone with our whole heart and treat them as though they are the most important thing in the world, they feel that and we feel that. That's a very feminine energy. In touch with non-physical realms of existence. That would again go back to that intuition or having a feeling about something and acting on that. And it's not something that we can touch or see or hear or even, a smell. It's something on the other side where we know beyond that veil that there is something else, and we listen to that. Fullness and form is another feminine attribute. Embodying divine sources of love. Nurturing and caring. kindness and compassion, receptive and organic, collaborative and warm-hearted. So take a moment now to think of yourself and how you activate and live from those feminine energies. Now let's move over to the masculine. It's logic, reason, and rationality. Strategy, planning, future-oriented goals. Solution-based thinking. Problem-solving. Decision-making. Oops, I see a typo there. It's supposed to be pursuit of linear course. I created my own language on this. I love it. Thinking and intellect. Controlling and pursuing. Singularity of purpose and direction. Emptiness and nothingness. Active and directional. Doing. Mental and physical, competition and ambition, strong and assertive and protective. So if we go back to the feminine energies and we take a look, imagine what it's like if these feminine energies are out of balance or that there's an unhealthy version of them. So for example, in the feminine, if we are not aware of our emotions and receiving the messages from them, what happens? They go into the background and they come out at the least desirable times sometimes. So I'll give you an example. A friend of mine had 3 stepchildren who didn't particularly care for her. And she was doing every single thing she could to get them to like her and so that they could connect. She is not a baker. Around the holidays, she baked Christmas cookies. She took them to all of these different events and plays, and she tried everything she knew, and the children still just stared at her blankly. They would not connect with her. So instead of her going within and taking a look at what emotions or what messages was she getting from all this doing, and not being, she didn't do that. She just kept doing more. So that was out of balance, right? And so then she went into work the next day and she was taking her coat off and the top button popped off. And her coworkers are all around. She starts screaming and crying because her top button came off. It wasn't that. That wasn't the reason. It was because she had not honored that emotional part of her, and that can happen to any of us. So that's just one example. And then if we go to the masculine energy, if we'll just use the first one, if that's out of balance, and we are only using logic, reason, and rationality without any other kind of feeling or balance, you can imagine what can happen there. We actually see a lot of that, and it doesn't feel right to us without that balance. And we don't always know why, but that's why, because it's out of balance, and it's an unhealthy version of the masculine. So, before I go on, I'd like to, this is from sacredlightacademy.com. The divine feminine is what allows us to just be. It is powerful, loving, and caring. And it allows faith, trusting, deep inner knowing, and higher intuition. It allows us to take our time with observations. She, we'll just use that for now, discovers her way from the inside out, by feeling wisdom, love, and freedom from within. She is magnetic and attracts everything she wants simply by knowing that it's already hers. This allows for the manifestation of her dreams. The wounded feminine, on the other hand, the feminine energy when it's not in its full power or has been subject to trauma, demonstrates desperation and neediness. So if you're seeing someone acting out with that desperation and neediness, they are unhealed in that area of trauma, and they are not able to live from that full place of the feminine energy within. The divine masculine is what allows us to take decisive action, but not aggressive or angry action, despite, what we might assume. Instead, it is based on open, loving, and faith-based action. The masculine listens to the divine feminine's knowledge, receives her intuitive wisdom with openness, and then acts on that knowledge and confidence. Acts on that knowledge with confidence. This action is based in knowing that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. It is masculine energy that unites the world in love and personal authority. It is the he who looks out for, protects, and provides for the community, family, and those in need. The wounded masculine perverts this by creating conflict when fear has overtaken faith and feels the need to prove a sense of worth due to feeling unworthy of inclusion or love. So can you see how both versions of the masculine and feminine, when distorted or unhealed, can you see that in our world today? Can you see that playing out right in front of us? So you might be thinking, okay, so what's the answer? What's the answer? What do we do about all of this? Well, what we do is we use our awareness to be able to make sure that we are tapping into our inner selves and honoring the masculine and feminine aspects. So for example, if we have something that we'd like to accomplish and we use only the feminine of, that flowy energy and intuition, if we use only that, but none of the masculine doing or anything, then what happens? Nothing gets done. It's simply a thought, right? And then the opposite, of course, is true. If we're doing without tapping back into that inner self, then that is less than. So, okay. So what would it be like if the masculine and feminine energies were in union, in harmony with one another? So what I'd like you to do now is to get into a very comfortable space. And if you're comfortable closing your eyes, please go ahead and do that. Feel your lids relax. As you breathe in deeply and consciously, allow your shoulders to soften and feel everything fall away. You are present and all is well. Take 2 more breaths like this, and with each one, go deeper into your being. Go to the center of your heart. You can even place your hands over your heart to activate a sense of love and gratitude for this moment and for all that brings you joy and tranquility in your life. Invite a gentle smile to blossom onto your face. Become present to the feminine energies in your being. Be still and listen with heart and spirit to your inner voice. Allow for emotions and feelings, a sense of flowing, spiraling. Bring a situation in your life to mind that is causing you some discomfort. Use the feminine energy of allowing, accepting, and trusting natural outcomes to soothe you and bring you peace. Feel divine presence in this moment, real and alive, within you, as you. Now become present to the masculine energy in you. Embrace the parts of you that help you to solve problems, to make decisions, and to take action in your life. Think of the same challenge you'd already thought of and apply some of these masculine energies. Also, feel into the protective part of you that protects what is important to you. Now, feel the masculine and feminine energies within you, honored, respected, and activated, swirling and enlivening you. Feel the wholeness of your being, knowing that these energies are gifts for you and for our world. With your eyes still closed, take another conscious breath or two and feel yourself fully present in your body, grounded and inspired. Know that the words that I have spoken on our behalf are made manifest by our divine. So it is, and so it shall be. Shanti, 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 and blessed be. Sit in the stillness for a moment or two and feel who you really are. Know why you are here. Feel gratitude for your life, gratitude for the gifts that you've been given, and gratitude for knowing how and where to share them. Feel into the idea of being of service to the world. That is what our world needs most, is each of us being the highest, most conscious versions of ourselves, filling the world with love. And whenever you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. What role does balancing these masculine and feminine energies play in our world? How do we create a new world? A new world of love and respect and collaboration and kindness. Can you envision that new world? Do you know that you are here to be a part of it? I imagine the fact that you're a part of this community is something that tells you that you are, in my organization, New World Women, we say that we are seekers and sages. We are always seeking new learning and inspiration, and we are sages because we have wisdom deep within us. What we're being called to do now is to access that highest part of ourselves. And as Sophie Bashford says in her book, You Are a Goddess, she says, rip off the tape from your mouth. Speak truth. Speak the truth as you see it. Don't hold back anymore. If you see something that's out of line, speak it forth. Because what is not spoken will be wept. Be brave. Be courageous. And know that this is why you are here on this earth. This is a time of tremendous transformation. We are going from a very dense, old paradigm ruled by an unhealthy masculine patriarchy. And now it's time to move into that flowing part of love, moving from the 3D, third dimension, into the fifth dimension. We can all do that. The teaching and gathering and things that we do, that is like a bridge between the third dimension and the fifth dimension. Coming together in community is another bridge. Claiming our own worth. Not playing small anymore. There's no time for that. No time for that. And in this new world, let there be no hierarchy. Hierarchies don't work. They don't. I think I have a slide on here that's the seed growing from the ground. That's another example of masculine and feminine energy. The seed itself is feminine, and it gets put down into the dark soil. But it's the masculine energy that breaks the seed apart and pushes it up. So we need both with everything. So this is a little disc that I got. And it was interesting that it's pink and blue. And the blue triangle represents the masculine. The base is very stable, and which is very necessary. And there's so much more that we can say about that. But if you have time, look up this symbol, and you'll see all of the different aspects of this blending and merging of the masculine and feminine. And then you see that the feminine is the pink triangle. And that one, without the support of the blue triangle, it would topple over. So they need each other. Both energies are necessary. And so something that I have been sharing and practicing myself is really going deep and taking a look at the unhealed parts within myself. As I mentioned before, we don't like going to those places. We just don't like it. It's painful. But I assure you, if you're willing to do it and then not stay there, that's the part where people get stuck. They're like, oh, I look at this part of myself that I don't like or feels unhealed or causes me to be triggered or whatever it might be. We look at that and say, oh, I don't want to really do that. And then you look at it, and then you might get stuck there, and then that becomes a really big part. It's almost like you're beating yourself up for that. Stop that. You're human. We're all human. We make silly and sometimes serious mistakes. But when we're aware of this unhealed part of ourselves and we decide that we're going to go for it, that's when we're liberated and free. So think about that in your own life. And if you need support for that, get the support you need. I do believe that everything that we need is within us. It's just that through time and the overculture, these things have been tamped down. And we were told, oh, that's wrong, or don't believe that, or that's being silly, or that's being airy-fairy, or that's being woo-woo. I'm saying get as woo-woo as you can. Get woo-woo. Get airy-fairy. Balance it out. Balance out the dense, dark energy on this planet right now. So back to hierarchies. They never work. I've had many people over the years. Actually, I was doing a reading from my book, Venerable Women, Transform Ourselves, Transform the World, in Napa, California. And, I did a talk about hierarchies not working, and this man came up to me afterwards and he said, oh, Dawn, he said, I just think that we should have a hierarchy and I think women should be in charge. And I said, that's not going to work either. Hierarchies don't work. It's only a coming together, a working together, a collaborating, a creating together that works. We've done the feminine hierarchy in ancient times. That got taken over by the patriarchy, and then we had the patriarchy, still have it. So we see it just doesn't work. So let's let go of all of that, right? And be self-empowered and do what we can to be the authorities of our own lives. And this goes for medicine, religion, you name it. Be your own authority in all of those things. Trust yourself. Use your feminine intuition about those things and other things too. And then use your masculine energy to take action. I have a very dear friend who is suffering with, I won't say suffering, that's the wrong word, scratch that. She is dealing with pancreatic cancer. And when people hear that, they say it's an automatic, death, you're automatically going to die. There's no hope for you. And so she is doing a combination of Western and other medicines, some homeopathic, acupuncture, all of those kinds of things, diet. And to be honest, I don't know if she is going to survive this, and she doesn't either. But you know what she said to me just on Friday night? She said, I am so at peace with my life because I have continued to do my own inner work, facing my demons and unhealed parts of myself. And she said, the more that I do that, the veil that used to always be somewhere in front of me, she said, it's gone. That veil is gone. She said, I see everything clearly now. And so she ended up, I just got this text this morning. She fired her oncology team because they were not listening to her. She told them that she was very sensitive. She decided to get chemo. She was very sensitive to it, and she asked them to give her a lower dose. They didn't listen. They controlled it, and they gave her 100%, and she was sick for 13 days, couldn't get out of bed. So in the conversations that she and I have had, she said, I have been giving my power over. And she said, that's the grand lesson of my life. I've done it through my whole life, and I'm not doing it anymore. And she said, and I will take the consequences of my actions. I think she's very brave and very bold and very right. So I invite you as light workers, please claim that right now. Every single one of you in this room are light workers. Don't get caught up on the definition. You know you are. You know you have light in you. And you know that it's time to share that light in the biggest ways you ever have. Don't shrink anymore. You came to this earth to keep learning, to keep healing, to keep sharing your gifts, to keep serving, to keep loving yourself. Love yourself. And love others. We cannot love others if we don't love ourselves. We can't. We cannot give what we don't have. It's impossible. So love yourself. You want to do something silly right now? We've got a child here. Maybe she'd like to do it. What's your name, honey? Selah? I'm Dawn. It's nice to meet you. So what do you think if we all give ourselves a hug? What do you think of that? Do you like that idea where we just wrap our arms around ourselves and give ourselves a hug? Would you do it? All right. Let's all give ourselves a hug and love ourselves. And then when you're finished with that hug, stretch your arms out and say, I share this love wherever I go. At the grocery store, don't knock anybody in the nose. In the grocery store, when you're driving, oh, that's the tough one, isn't it? No matter where you are or what you're doing, be love. My friend Denise visited me yesterday when I was in the last hours of taking care of my 4-month-old grandson overnight. Holy guacamole. I remember having, my 2 daughters, and of course that was 36 years ago. And it was a joyful time and a lot of work. And Denise came and we were having this very conversation about truly being light and love in the world, and not just saying it, but do it. That is a purpose. We were talking about this idea of purpose. I said, purpose is such a heavy word to me. I don't like it anymore. I like the word gift. What gift do you have? And what gift do you want to share? Because it makes you feel good and it makes other people feel good too, right? So that idea of, and so she said, I was walking down the street and this group of people passed me by and they looked like they were in a fight. And she said, I was in this really love bunny state. I was feeling all happy and joyful and I smiled at them. And she said, I turned and I looked back and she said, the whole energy had shifted for those people. She said, all I did was smile. And then she told me that about a month ago, she was in a group with some people, and this one man seemed very down. And she used her intuition, and she took action, right? Masculine, feminine, feminine, masculine. And she went up to him and she just smiled at him and had a few kind words, just asked him, what his name was and how's he doing. And she had her business cards there and he had taken one of them and he called her and he said, that day I had planned to go home and commit suicide. He said, your kindness made me know that I want to stay alive. So that's the effect that we can have, using our awareness, tuning into what's going on around us, and sharing our gift, whatever it is. If it's playing violin, Sean, if it's, creating a new economic future for the world, Joel, if it's, Gary, keeping this place running. Whatever the gifts are, and I know you have many others, all of you do, but whatever your gift is, share it. And be love. And love yourself. So you didn't turn the light on, so it looks like I have about a minute left. Is that right? Time's up. Oh, my. Okay, well, I'm just going to do this one last thing. Rianne Eisler. I pray for a world where we live in partnership rather than domination, where power is no longer equated with the blade, but with the holy chalice, the ancient symbol of the power to give, nurture, enhance life. And I not only pray, but actively work for the day when it will be so. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dawn. So many wise pearl wisdom moments in that. So thank you for coming and sharing all that with us. So now is the time where Lake Harriet Spiritual Community is, we run on your donations. We run on the love you share with us. And so we're going to have an offering. And, it helps us to not only keep the lights on and keep the building open, but to also offer beautiful programs like Don just shared with us. So, thank you.
I won't forget when Peter Pan came to my house, took my hand. I said I was a boy, I'm glad he didn't check. I learned to fly, I learned to fight. I lived a whole life in one night. We saved each other's lives out on the pirate deck. And I remember that night when I'm leaving a late night with some friends, and I hear somebody tell me it's not safe, someone should help me. I need to find a nice man to walk me home. When I was a boy, I scared the pants off of my mom, climbed what I could climb above. And I don't know how I survived. I guess I knew the tricks that all boys knew. And you can walk me home, but I was a boy too. I was a kid that you would like, just a small boy on her bike, riding topless. Yeah, I never cared who saw. My neighbor came outside to say, get your shirt. I said, no way, it's the last time. I am not breaking any law. And now I'm in this clothing store, and the signs say less is more. More that's tight means more to see. More for them, not more for me. That can't help me climb a tree 10 seconds flat. When I was a boy, see that picture, that was me. Grass stained shirt and dusty knee.
I also forgot to tell you that we now have Venmo. So that's another way to share a little green energy with Lake Harriet. We also have a donation button on our website. So, yay. I know we don't carry cash so much anymore. So we stepped it up a bit to give you some other options. So if you could raise your hands and join me in this blessing. God's perfect love, flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. Thank you. So it's our tradition here to kind of circle up in a circle and hold hands, and Don will offer a last blessing for our day. We probably can make it all the way around the center here. So if we just, up you go, into the circle. Oh, yeah.
Put your hand on my shoulder. Can you put your hand on my shoulder? Because I'm. Oh, sure.
Stretch it out over there a little bit. There you go. We can do this.
Are we good? May we each feel the love in our own being and share it abundantly in every way that we know how. And may we feel gratitude for this community and for all of the ways that we learn and are inspired in our lives. And may we feel the activation of our higher selves in all that we do. And so it is.